Good morning, everyone. I'm Shan Morgan. I'm the president of Elma Americas. And before I jump right into the presentation, I'll give you a little bit of information about me. I like to do extreme sports. If it's hard, if it's risky, I like to do it. A few years ago, I took up surfing at 53. And when I was in San Diego last January, I was watching out into the ocean before I got in, and I saw the more experienced surfers sitting out there in the calm water, getting ready to catch the big wave. And so I charged into the ocean, got about 10 yards in, roller pushes me back to the beach. I'm not daunted, I get back on the board, I go out, roller pushes me back to the beach. I got rolled back to the beach about 10 times in a row, thought I was gonna drown. I'm gonna stop the story there, and when we get to the end of the presentation, I'll tell you how that all came out. But that leads into a little bit to our industry and the changes that we're starting to experience. If you feel like you're getting rolled back to the beach often, you're not alone, and it's not a surprise or a mistake. The defense industry is changing quite a bit. The complexity of the solutions that are being demanded are really putting a strain on all of the resources that we have. You'll find that it's not just a strain on the resources in technology, but it's across the board. At the same time, the defense contractors are doing cost down initiatives. So right when we need to be doing more and more, we're getting pressure to do it for less and less. What's that doing to some of the suppliers? I've broken us down into 4 major categories. So you've got the primes. They're trying to outsource more. They're looking for ways to either get rid of a volume problem or a technology problem to the supply chain. You've got the system platform providers. You know, people putting together chassis and backplanes and active cards and maybe operating systems, solving IPMI issues. They're having to pull in more technology. Then you've got more of the traditional building block people, the backplane only, the chassis people, power supply people. They have to find a place to play in this market. And then because of the pace of technology, we're also seeing commercial suppliers trying to get in to the marketplace and sell things. So it's changing rapidly. What are some of the trends we're seeing? Well, it's across the board. It's the cost pressures from the DoD pushing down to the primes. It's this new wave of technology where they're investing in more R&D. You've got the high performance computing. You've got initiatives to standardize on COTS equipment, like the open standards for SOSA that we're all involved in. You've got C4ISR that is driving the pace of technology, where they're trying to pull more components in from the commercial market so they can keep pace with the speeds that are necessary. So as you look at what's happening out there, everything's accelerating. The pace of the technology change is ramping up, and we're all being forced to keep up with that. And as I said, we're trying to do that at a cost proposition that allows us to make money. So when you look at it, the tier 1 primes are really trying to offload a lot of this, and what it means to all of us is a lot of risk. When we're taking on these new challenges, we expose our companies to more risk. So I did a little bit of research trying to figure out if we're the first ones to ever experience this, and I found out we're not. A lot of industries go through what we're going through. So if we look here, if we go all the way back to the pre-industrial age, your cost versus volume was pretty much linear. You wanted to make another widget, you added another person. Another widget, another person, another widget, another person. Then we went into the industrial age, and you were dominated by fixed costs. So obviously, the more volume you could do, you'd bend that cost curve down. So you wanted to pump out a lot of widgets on your existing infrastructure. Well, now we've moved into the post-industrial age. So now it's really being dominated not by volume, but by complexity. And as you can see from the graph, as the complexity goes up, it's no longer linear, our costs. We're looking at exponential impact of complexity on our costs. What does that mean at a high level? I've kind of put into bold here just the takeaways, but the center of gravity has moved from generalist to specialist. Today, what's required is assembling the right team of experts with relevant solutions knowledge at the right time no more, no less. You need to pull in all the experts. You need the optical connector experts. You need the backplane experts. You need to have that interplay on the profiles between the SOSA backplanes or the Open VPX in general. So you need relationships with the board manufacturers, with the backplanes, and then you've got the cooling, and the shock and vibration. And so you need to pull all these things together in a way that makes you successful, and you don't want to be overly resourced because, again, it's going to affect your costs, but you need to be able to provide that complete solutions. So customer needs have grown more sophisticated. Buyers increasingly demand a tailored solution anchored in expertise. And customer expectations providers to help solve their business problems and measure value based on outcomes, not necessarily the lowest price. And I think we all know that our customers are looking for the total solution. They're not looking for the cheapest solution to balance all these different factors. So complexity is unavoidable, of course, yet poorly managed complexity can erode customer confidence. And that comes in a lot of different ways, whether the solutions don't pass meet the specifications, don't pass the test, don't show up on time, we have cost increases, and that can really hurt an individual company, but also our entire industry in how we are perceived by our customers. So a graph here, again, just kind of shows that complexity curve, but shows some of the things, and I just highlighted the ones I thought were most prevalent to our industry. But you'll see, new customer expectations, expanded portfolios, changing technology, which we'll talk a lot about here in the next few days, new acquisitions. We think that, as we're thinking about the complexity, a lot of times we think just on that technological side, but it's all the other factors that come in. You merge two companies together with different cultures and different technology expertises, and managing all that adds another layer of complexity. More vertical services, obviously, if you're trying to get from being a chassis supplier and backplanes and you want to start adding software solutions, really increasing the complexity. And then there's one bullet down there about more regulation. I happen to be heavily on the business side, but between the cybersecurity requirements and the CAPA audits and just the volume of paperwork continues to go up and up. So we won't spend a lot of time on this graph because I think we're all, a lot of us are engineers and technical people, but you'll see here, when you have that linear relationship, you have a lot of knowns. You have problem, solution, problem, solution. When you start to add complexity as you go up the layers, you start to introduce unknowns, and those feedback loops create new reactions, which create additional problems. And so it's not a linear situation. As we become more complex, it becomes exponential as we add more and more capabilities, whether that's going to some of these, the SOSA meetings where we do the interoperability. We learn a lot at those, but then we have to go back and fix those. And when we're doing complex systems, is it the backplane? Is it the board that's causing the problem? Is it the software? Is it the drivers? I mean, all sorts of the things. And as you go back and forth until it just explodes. So what does that really mean to companies? If you look at the graph on the left, again, we're looking at complexity versus cost. That blue line is kind of a value curve. You obviously want to be below that. You want to keep your complexity as it goes up. You want to keep your costs down. You make money that way. But as you can see in the red line, that cost risk curve, as that continues to go up, it makes it very difficult to stay below that blue line. And so as you'll see there with the arrows, most of us are still in a good spot, but as the complexity is rising, it's starting to put more and more of us into that zone above the value curve, making it harder and harder to be successful. So the graph on the right, that's a pretty straightforward graph, but it just kind of shows again how we're spending our resources. In the old days, you wanted to spend as little time as possible to be successful. You wanted to get your widget out the door. That's not our business anymore. Success for us is a long cycle. We start a project and 18 months later we deliver a prototype, and 3 or 4 years later we're into production. So just that we're all aware of the environment that we're in, that it's, again, no longer that very simple sale. Again, a lot of times we think about the complexity as it relates to technology, but if we take a step back, it really is impacting all aspects of our business. We've got the sales and program management side. You've got compliance, you've got change management, customer approvals, design reviews have increased. On the engineering side, obviously, the rate of change of the technology is putting tremendous demands on all of our engineering teams. But it goes beyond that. You have the supply chain now. You need to be able to find components. You need to have flow downs to those vendors to make sure that they're being compliant with the DoD requirements being forced down. Constant price increases, not 3% or 5%, but every now and again you're seeing 20 and 30% price increases for obsoleting technology. So it's a big challenge on the supply chain side. Operations, obviously, they're needing new tooling, new equipment, more people, more training. So trying to keep up, trying to make sure that the yield, the quality that's coming out of the manufacturing group stays high, and that you're also hitting the delivery expectations of your customers. IT, hopefully IT is like the Maytag repairman. They're out there, but they don't do anything because everything's running. Not so much the case anymore. Cybersecurity, for those of you who were trying to get NIST certified, and now you find out you have to get CMMC certified, but you find out that there aren't any CMMC certification bodies out there yet. It's a big challenge for all of us, but they tell you you're not going to be able to do business with the DoD by the end of the year if you're not CMMC certified. So IT's got a big challenge. Quality again, flow down, source inspections, first article inspections, finance, CAPA audits. I mean, it's endless, and it's on all aspects of our business that are pushing us into a more complex business environment. What does that really mean to us? What's the risk? I'm not trying to end on a negative slide here, but I want us to be aware that if we don't manage this well, we've got less time for business development. We've got, trying to stay current with the technology and falling behind. You have margin erosion if you don't balance the resources properly. Increased project risk. If things don't go right, if things are late, then you have all sorts of pushback from the top trying to get you to resolve the issues. Increased interdepartmental conflicts. I put that one on there. I've seen it in our organization as people become more stressed. There's more pushback, a little bit more finger pointing as to what's causing all these problems. I'm here to tell you that it's not one department doing it on purpose. It's the entire weight of what's coming at us. And then, of course, damaged relationships with key customers, and that's the biggest one, is that if we don't manage this complexity and figure out how to deliver quality solutions that meet our customers' expectations at a good price point, it really affects our ability to grow both as a company and as an industry. So I put that as barrier to success. So, and I'm doing all right on time, but I'm going to finish up my story. So there I am in San Diego, just getting rolled back to the beach over and over again. And I'm a really good swimmer. I once swam around the island to Key West, Florida, just to put it in context that I'm a good swimmer. I thought I was going to drown. And I got back to the beach, and I was going to quit. I was going to give up. And I looked back out at the ocean, and I stopped and I stared out there. And I watched one of the good surfers. It was his turn in the queue, and he came up, and he caught the wave. A nice wave rolled up. He caught it. He rolled in, rode it all the way in, got out of the water, walked to the beach, walked past me, walked all the way down to the pier, got in the water, and all of a sudden he just jetted right back out and got back in the queue. There happened to be a little rip current that was going back out. So I was trying to go right out against all the waves, and I found out that if you just walk down the beach, you could find a path out to success. So my point is, there is a path to success. You just have to look for it. Take some time.